Hi guys! Right, let me do this now. I realize when I press the screen, it makes the camera shake, so I really apologize. So, a little bit of background before I say hello properly. I was all set up on the other side, on the track and everything, but it's so windy today. The tripod keeps falling over, so I'm like, place the tripod and the camera in front of the high jump bed cover thing, like one like this, but here. So hopefully it doesn't blow over today. Hi guys, welcome to another Ask T live Q&A. It is the 29th of March, no it's not. I was all happy, I got the date right. It's the 29th of May, 2025. How are you? Well, I've got a lot of questions today. Loads of questions, so I'm looking forward to answering them all. Please say hello if you're coming live. I'm hoping that I can see the chat, and I would also like to know if you can hear me. So if you can let me know you can hear me, that would be great. Give this video a thumbs up if you're watching the replay, then yes. Right, so before I get into the questions, I'm just gonna run through a few things that I've got going on that might be of interest to you. So if you are a girl or you have a daughter and she's aged between 13 and 19, I have my Pure summer school coming up from the 28th of July, running for 4 weeks. It is 3 sessions a week where we're going to be focusing on speed training, sprint coaching and strength and conditioning for teenage girls. And yeah, it's just a really great way for me to be able to invest in teenage girls, helping them build their confidence, help them develop their skills and all of that good stuff. So if you have a daughter and you're looking for something for her to be able to do during the summer, whether she's in track and field, whether she does another sport and speed or strength and conditioning is a benefit to her, then please check out my Pura summer school for girls, which is happening the 28th of July, starting the 28th of July, and it runs for 4 weeks, 3 sessions a week. You don't have to do every single session, but you can choose how many sessions you're going to do for the summer camp, and then you can attend however many you pay for, right? So that's the first announcement. Second one is I want to remind you guys about my Pure speed camp, which is happening in January. So we're in May. So right now it's still the early bird price, early bird ticket. So if that's something you're interested in, then please make sure that you sign up before the early bird ends. Prices will go up at the end of August. So if you're interested, then yes, make sure you register for that. Let me see if I can see the chat because I always struggle to see the chat. And I'm going to get into the questions because I'm probably going to be on here for about an hour today. So I really appreciate you guys when you come on live. Please say hello so I can see you. Right now I can't see the chat. So if you said anything, I'm sorry. I can't see it. I'm trying to see it. So say something so that I can say hi to you so I can know who's watching. So I'm going to start with the question from Claire. Please let me know you can hear me, guys. It would be the worst thing ever. Hi, Claire. Thank you. I'm about to answer your question. So Claire asks, hi, Tarima. I just watched your Q&A from yesterday. So this is the last Q&A that I did. So I missed April. So I did another Q&A at the beginning of May. And this is what Claire asked me the question like the next day. So if you're watching a replay and you missed the live and you didn't get your question in on time, you can still ask questions and I will try and answer it in the next live, right? So I watched your Q&A from yesterday and was interested that you have had Achilles issues. Hope you are recovering. I have had Achilles tendinopathy and can do a lot of things, but when I put my spikes on, it's painful. This is hampering my training. Any ideas for how to keep training and keep sharp with an Achilles issue? I'm a masters athlete. Now, I really relate, obviously, because like I shared, I was having Achilles issues. So I'll share what my journey's been and what I've done over the last month. I'm happy to say this is actually my second week running back running. That's a really, really positive thing. So hopefully if I share my experience and what I did to help me stay sharp, not only am I back running, but also back running times that I was running when felt like I was in great shape. So that's great. Or not felt like, I was actually in great shape. So in the last live, I mentioned that I was taking 2 weeks off to give my Achilles a chance to fully recover. So similar like you, Claire, I found that while I'm in trainers, I'm pretty much okay. So like through winter, I obviously have to manage volume. The volume is one thing that I have to manage. So just making sure that I manage the volume, the number of times I run. So maybe some people might be able to run 4 times a week or so. I can't run 4 times a week. So maybe three would be kind of the max for me. And sometimes, especially like around like now, I'll probably have to try to limit it to around 2, right? But yeah, once I got into spikes and started running fast a lot more in spikes, that's when my Achilles started to play up a bit more, right? So in what happened was when I got to April, the beginning of April, I would say probably towards the end of March. Now I'm running faster with spikes and stuff. Like I was preparing for the indoor, I ended up not doing indoors. However, just as I went to Antigua for in April, that my Achilles I started to feel my Achilles. So it was in a place where I would say like awareness, if you're saying pain out of 10, maybe like 1 or 2. It wasn't too bad. I was able to still run, but basically the let's say I was there for 3 weeks, but by the last week it was just very, very painful. Like I had to strap it up the whole time I was there anyway, so by the time I'm now having to strap it up, it's a bit too far already. And I could have made the decision to keep like pushing through, but I thought, I'll tell you actually what happened, which made me take the 2 weeks off. And to be fair, if that didn't happen, I probably wouldn't have. So I'm actually grateful that that did happen, and I did take the 2 weeks off because it's actually benefited me. So I was then strapping up my Achilles with kinesio tape and doing my sessions like that, and I was still able to still run well, and still run like training PBs and stuff like that the first week and a half or so while I was still in Antigua. And then by the last week, it just like flared up even more. Basically, let's say I was running 3 times a week at this point, and in spikes every session, and pretty much all my runs in spikes. So then by the last week, I was just in a lot of pain. I came back to the UK, and that session that I had was just terrible. I thought it was worse than it was. Basically, my free lap was the battery needed changing, and I didn't realize this. So not the battery in the chip, but the battery actually in the Junior Pro. So that's the yellow like cone light thing that needed changing. I've had it since 2022, and I've never changed the battery, I don't think. So it was playing up. So the times I was seeing were like really slow, and I was thinking, oh my days, I must be so slow. But basically that's what made me think, okay, maybe my Achilles is hurting me way more than I thought, and it's affecting me so much. I've lost a lot of strength in it, all of that stuff. But comes to see that it wasn't as bad as I was thought. But if I didn't see those times, I wouldn't have taken the 2 weeks off. So I took 2 weeks off, and during those 2 weeks, to answer your question, Claire, I stayed with my gym sessions. So making sure that gym is powerful, explosive, everything is sharp and fast, right? So I kept the gym going. The first week I didn't do anything impact on my Achilles. So I basically initially given a chance to recover. So if you haven't had that time to just, whether it's a week or 2, to fully pull back in terms of icing it every day, making sure that you basically just take what's what I want to say? Take off the impact from your Achilles, just give it a chance to recover, depending how bad it is. I gave that whole backstory, maybe just to kind of give context as to the different levels of pain. So when it got to a point where now, even when I'm putting on tape, even when I'm walking, I'm feeling pain, that's too far. It's too far now. And then I just know from last season, the year before, that it will just go downhill from there. So it's like trying to catch it early, and backing off the volume and backing off stuff earlier, which gives it a chance to recover and stay strong. When your Achilles is starts getting irritated, it loses its strength. So basically, you want to give it a chance first of all to recover. So that means backing off impact and icing. Maybe that might be using like for things like Voltarol, what's it called, anti-inflammatory gels and stuff like that. I kept on with my gym session the first week, make sure everything was fast and explosive, like I said. Did I do drills? I didn't do drills the first week. The second week, I began to implement drills again. So drills and trainers on the Astro. I drill on the Astro anyway. That's one of the things I do in terms of my management of my Achilles. I drill on the Astro. Of course, in Antigua, they didn't have the track that I use. They don't have Astro turf. They have grass in the middle, and I cannot go on grass. Last year when I went on grass, that's when my Achilles flared up around, I think it was June, and after that I couldn't recover from it. So grass is a no-no for me, but AstroTurf is softer and obviously it's flat. That's where I do my plyometrics, my drills, and then obviously on the track I can run. Early winter, or let's say if I'm still recovering from Achilles, then I might run on Astro too. But now I'm in a place where I can run on the track, and like obviously now I can do everything, but run on the track. So Astro drills on Astro, plyometrics on Astro. Plyometrics not even full impact. It might be like ones where you land, you only do 1 repetition of a jump. So for example, like standing long jump as opposed to double leg bound, which is a continuous movement, which requires like that constant repetitive pressure on the Achilles. So basically backing off the plyometric in the sense of still being able to do plyometric. Anything that doesn't hurt, you can do. So if box jump doesn't hurt, then you can do box jump. Basically going backwards and do anything that doesn't hurt, but trying to, like you said, stay, what did you say? Keep sharp, right? So that means in the gym, I can pretty much do everything in the gym. So everything I do in the gym has to be explosive, nothing slow, nothing that's like a long time. Everything is quick and explosive. Then obviously when I started to be able to implement drills, making sure that I'm implementing them very quick and explosive, good form, everything you do, making them snappy, right? Making use of drills. If I can only do drills for now, then I'll do more drills than I normally do, for example. Then I think I started to implement hurdle drills. I could do that. That was fine. So again, you're still keeping that snappiness, you're still keeping that bounce, you're still keeping that type of plyometric work in. So box jump I could do, let's say I could do a standing long jump or a knee jump. Single leg was still hurting a bit. Then it's like I slowly but surely got into skips. It's like how many could I do? Maybe not doing as many as I used to do, but maybe just doing like 10, whereas I might do 20, for example, or I might do like reps like skips up. Basically doing what I could, slowly but surely implementing it back again. And in terms of the running, last week was my first week back running. I would say that I allowed my Achilles to get to a place where I couldn't feel it anymore walking. So the 2 weeks really did do me well. And then I went back to running, but I stayed in trainers. And then actually I stayed in trainers or did like 1 rep or so in spikes. So basically, I hope that helps, Claire. I don't know, let me know if anything that I've said is helpful, because I feel like I was talking and I forgot everything that I said. I'm not even gonna lie, but that's what I did. I also implemented bike. So because I wasn't running, I utilized the bike. So I did bike sprints. So I think, let's say I have like 3 different kind of sessions that I'll do. One of them might be like the 10-second sprints on a high level and really high RPM. So bike sprint that keeps your legs turning over. Then if you have like a speed endurance session, you might do longer bike sprints. So it might be 20 seconds, might be 40 seconds, depending on what your sessions were for running, but utilizing the bike instead of running. So keep your legs turning over, and then still keeping, if you can do drills, then do drills. Like I said, doing it on a astroturf as opposed to the track, wearing trainers for runs if you can run. If trainers doesn't hurt, then doing more reps in trainers, less reps in spikes, just making sure everything is high quality. I hope that helps, Claire. Let me know, please, if that was helpful at all, because I felt like I was chatting and I forgot everything that I said. Anyway, hopefully that helps. Claire, please let me know. Okay, second question I'm going to ask. I like the idea of trying 1 rep in spikes first. Yeah, so like today, for example, I had 120s and I did the first 2 in trainers. Like yesterday, to be fair, I was even so grateful because I was able to run twice in a row this week, yesterday and today. It was bank holiday on Monday, so that kind of switched up my week, but it was a good test for my Achilles. And I'm so happy to be standing here pain-free, like after having done 2 running sessions in a row. But basically, if you have to do more reps in trainers before you put your spikes on, or doing less reps in spikes, you can still get the runs in and you can still make them high quality. Obviously, when you run in spikes, it's much easier to run faster, but let's say you know that by the 3rd rep, your 3rd rep's always your fastest. So do the first 2 in trainers and then do your 3rd one in spikes and your 4th one in spikes, and then put your trainers on again, for example, right? So just making use of trainers if you have to. And yeah, maybe even just like splitting up the session so it's a bit shorter session, and ending your session where your Achilles feels good. So sometimes it's like, okay, I could do another one. Physically, I feel okay to do another rep, but actually, if I do another rep, will my Achilles start hurting me more? If I can, it's like 1 or 2 at the moment. If I push it again, will I make it worse? So it's always just ending the session where your Achilles hasn't flared up, right? But making sure those runs that you get to do are quality. And if it means you might have to run less times per week or less runs in a session per week, then just doing that. That's kind of some of the things. But yeah, bike, gym, drills, all those things, plyometrics, but going from a low level plyometrics to more higher and explosive plyometrics when you can. And changing the surface that you run on if you can as well. Okay. D arcs, I'm ordering new spikes. I'm ordering new spike pins, but does the sizing represent the width? So when you buy spikes, guys, so just as for anybody who doesn't know, I do have a whole video about spikes. So let me just give you, I don't have the spikes in front of me, unfortunately, but obviously at the bottom of your spike, you have spike pins and those are removable. Now, when it comes to spike pins that you're going to wear for competitions, they need to be 6mm, and it's talking about the length of the spike, right? You get ones that are like just a pyramid, like that, just a sharp pin. You get some that look like Christmas trees, so they have like 3 levels. And then what's the other one that I missed out? And then even in terms of the pin, some are like sharp points and some are a bit blunt, a bit more blunt. Some are like is it steel, and some are, I forgot the materials. So, but anyway, in terms of the length, you need 6mm, and it's talking about the length. The width is just the same because it fits into the spike. So just make sure that when you're buying spikes, they're 6mm. If you're doing stuff like hill sprints or something like that, sometimes you might want longer spike pins, but it's just 6mm is what you're going to want if you're going to be competing as well anyway, right? So if you haven't checked out my video about spike pins or spikes, then try and find that. I think I've got a short on that video, and I think I've got a long form video about it as well. Okay. At number 1, Sigma 911, how to recover properly after sprinting, preventing shin splints and back pain, and what spikes do you recommend 100 meters to 400 meters? Okay, so I'm going to answer the last part first about spikes. I'm not going to say a specific spike, right? Because I found too often that it really depends on your feet. Like, there's a lot of things that just depend on your feet, your body, all of that. But in terms of what spike, 100 to 400, then I would say you need sprint spikes. So if that's a bit too like basic and obvious, I apologize. I'm not going to say a specific brand because I really do think it matters. It depends on your feet. Like, something I think is great just might not work for you. If your foot's wider, if you have bunions, if you've got issues with like stress fractures or Achilles, all these things, right? So I think sprint spikes, but really trying to figure out how much space do you want. Do you need to get half a size bigger? Do you need to get a size bigger? Can you run in carbon plated spikes? Do you like it when there's a bit more of a cushion, like a little bit of a cushion underneath, or do you like it when you have when the spikes are higher up? What do you prefer? What does your feet prefer? What does your body prefer? And I think it's one of those things that you have to kind of play with. The same way you probably played with your shoes throughout your life to figure out what you like and what you don't like. It's really similar with sprint spikes. Do you want to wear socks? Do you not want to wear socks, right? So all those things make a difference. So I really think, I don't want to say a specific type. Obviously the spikes that people like, the spikes I like, but I think it really, really depends, and I think you have to try it. But sprint spikes usually don't have a heel, although like the new carbon plated spikes, there's like a cushion all across the bottom, but you have to be able to tell the difference between it having a heel that runs across the whole thing, so it's a bit flatter, compared to sprint spikes that have like, they're a bit more curved and a bit higher up, and usually a bit more rigid than distance spikes, right? Now in terms of recovering properly after sprinting, you said preventing shin splint and back pain. First of all, I'm going to say, what does your warm-up look like and what does your cool-down look like? So maybe that's part of what you're saying, recovery, but I'll say the warm and cool-down because if you've warmed up your body properly, so you have a whole warm-up routine, and I have a whole sprinter's warm-up routine. If you haven't checked that out, check it out. Hopefully that will help you, right? So a whole routine from mobilizing, loosen out your feet, ankles, calves, working up your whole body, your back, everything, right? And then, so you have a proper self-management routine. And I will say the same thing when it comes to cooling down. A lot of people neglect stretching. So at the end of your session, making sure you actually cool down properly. You do whether it's a jog, you do your stretching, or you go on the bike, or however you cool down, and you stretch, right? So making sure you do that post-session. But in terms of shin splints, a lot of times there's 2 reasons that you get shin splints. It can be overuse. It can be mechanical, so how you're landing on your foot. So it may not just be to do with how you're recovering in terms of the shin splint. Back, a lot of times, is to do with, sometimes it can be your movement. If you twist a lot, you might get back pain. If you arch a lot, you might get back pain. And if you're not cooling down properly, you're not warming up properly, you might get back pain, right? But if you're able to implement a proper self-management routine, a proper warm-up and a proper cool-down, a lot of times that will help with the back thing. And if you can strengthen your back as well, so that's like your gym work, your strength and conditioning, then that should help you in that regard. If you can fix your mechanics now, so you don't twist upper body, that will probably take off pain off your back. And shins-wise, if you're too toey, so you land too much on your toes as opposed to on the ball of your foot, that can cause shin splints. So, or if you're just doing too much running and your body can't cope with it. So if you're someone, like I said, same how I was showing about my Achilles, you have to manage volume. As much as we want to do all these things, you have to manage volume. So if you have to utilize other methods, if you have to utilize running in the pool, if you have to utilize doing hill sprint, if you have to utilize the bike, you have to utilize those things to still try and get the same outcome if your body can't handle just loads and loads of running. Some people can do loads and loads of running and they never get any issues, right? But if you're dealing with shin splints, you have to back off the volume. You have to ice your shins. You have to do the thing. Sometimes it's massaging, keeping your calves loose. So all these things can help you with regards to shin splints, but it's looking at your mechanics, how you run. It's looking at your warm up, your cool down. It's looking at your how you're landing on your foot, and it's strengthening your calves. It's keeping your calves loose and those sorts of things. So hopefully that helps. If you're on here, let me know. If you watch it after, then leave a comment. Right, if you're on here, thank you for joining me. Please say hello, guys. Don't just peek and don't say nothing. But if you have any questions, you can ask them while I'm on the live and I'll answer your questions right here and now. Okay, so Sean says, let me see this question. Right, this is an interesting one. This is something for everybody to answer. So let's see. Do you think if the elite women ran against the men in Diamond League meetings, this would help with breaking the women's 100 meters world record? So what do you guys think? So if women ran against men in the 100 at Diamond League meetings, would they run faster and would the world record be broken? It's an interesting question. I'm gonna say no. I'm going to say no. This is my thinking. I mean, it's possible, but this is my thinking. So what do you think? Put your thoughts in the comment section. I'm saying no because a lot of times, because you said elite women against elite men. If it was like women in a race with, like, you know, like how open meetings, you're running against people that's a very similar time. Remember, elite men are running 9 point something and elite women are running 10 point something. Like, we're talking the best, yeah? So that's a big gap. When you run against someone that's that far ahead of you, it doesn't necessarily make you run faster. But if it's someone who's like a little bit ahead of you, then it does. So I think that's why I say no in that regard. Also, there's just something that happens when women run against women, they, like, the adrenaline is more, like, you just feel it's just different. It's different as opposed to there's a bit less pressure when you're running against men because it's like, oh, they're gonna beat me anyway. So you don't have that same, like, you know, that adrenaline that helps you to get that extra temps and sort of thing. So I don't really think so because I think the gap between elite women and elite men, we're talking the best of the best against the best of the best. And we're not talking like a really good male sprinter versus the best women. That's a different subject. But if we're talking Diamond League, then it's going to be the best women against the best men. And I don't think I think the gap is too big to force you to run faster. Like, yeah, that's my personal opinion, but I could be wrong. What do you guys think? That's what I want to know. What do you guys think? Okie dokie. I'm not seeing any comments. Okay. Next question. My daughter, age 9, just got her first pair of spikes. Yay! Is there anything she should focus on in her next few training sessions now she's not in trainers? So well done. I mean, congratulations on your first pair of spikes. That must be nice. What spikes did she get? I didn't start athletics at 9 years old, so I didn't get my first pair of spikes at 9 years old. I started athletics at 12. I probably got them around 12 or 13. But now that she's in spikes, I don't think there's necessarily something per se to think about. Spikes will help her to make sure she's landing on the ball of her foot because the spike's at the front. So it's like automatic that she's going to be on the ball of her foot more. But I would say just the same way that you might break in... just good question. Dee says, good question, Ari, what to focus on with spikes. Yeah, I think it's not necessarily something to focus on per se, but I think having a spike makes you land in the right position on your foot, so more on the ball of your foot than you would do in trainers. But I think it's just when the spikes are new, especially if they're sprint spikes, because you're a bit more up on the foot, your foot might need to get used to them. So I would say break them in, so it's like not wearing them maybe for the whole session immediately, but it's like wearing them a little bit more each time so your foot gets used to it. And that's what I would advise anyway. If you're going to wear spikes for competition, that you would never wear new spikes at competition. You would break them in first in training, get used to them before you're going to use them in a competition, right? So your feet get used to them, but you get used to them because each spike feels a little bit different. And then with regards to when she's walking around, don't walk on the spike. Don't walk crunching on the concrete. Walk on the heels. If you have to walk on the path or the concrete to get somewhere, walk on your heels. Don't mash up the spike pins. So walk on your heels. But if you can, take them off to go inside or to go to the toilet or anything like that. So not so much to focus on, but I would say definitely make sure you break them in before you use them for competition. Wear them a little bit more each time in a session rather than just the whole session straight away, just to get used to them a little bit, just to avoid like any potential like injuries or anything like that. But overall, it was just more so it should just help her know like where to land on her foot and stuff like that. And yeah, hopefully she'll be able to run a bit faster in her sessions as well. So Dami asks, For an elite 100-meter sprinter, how much faster would they expect to go from season opener? Oh, question's gone. From season opener to absolute peak performance, in your opinion. So like from the beginning of the season to, let's say they're peaking for like the world championships like there is this year, right? I would say it depends on athlete to athlete, because some people open up and they run fast, and then they kind of they run between like the 2 and 3 tenths of that time, like all year. Some people take a bit of time to get into their running, to get race sharp. So if they're trying to peak for a certain time, so someone who might be, it depends. Someone who might be trying to aim for, they know they can run a 10.7 or 10.6. They might open up with an 11.0 or even 11.1, because sometimes the wind, the weather plays a part, all of those things. But I would say on the what's it called? What's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? On the, not the far end, but the longer end, I would say it's like maybe like 4 tenths. But then on the short end, so maybe like 3 to 5 tenths, something like that. Which, like, it's kind of a lot, but it's like it depends on the athlete, because some athletes are sharp from the beginning. Some athletes need a bit of time to get into their running, and you kind of, the more, especially by the time you're elite, you're more experienced, so you don't start panicking if you didn't run a PB your first race, because you know that it takes you a while to get into your running, so to speak, or to get sharp. Whereas some people, first race, boom, they run fast straight away, but then it's like trying to maintain that speed throughout so that they peak for the right time. So I would say between that, because someone who might run a 10.8, they might open up with an 11.2, they might open up with sometimes if the weather's really bad, like 11.3, 11.2, so like 3 to 5 tenths, I would kind of say. And it's not like, I would say pretty much like that. If they open up with a PB, I wouldn't say that, but if it's like open up with a time that's not their best time, then I would probably say like, that's just my thoughts, like looking at the overall picture like that. What do you think, Dami? What do you think? You asked that question. What do you think? Okay, next question. Ayush, I hope I'm saying your name right. Which leg is supposed to be in the front and which leg is supposed to be at the back in a block start or normal start? And how do you determine your power leg, please? Answer. You're welcome. Okay, so which leg is supposed to be at the front and which leg is supposed to be at the back in a block start? So usually you would put your strongest leg first, although a lot of times you can work on the leg to make them both as powerful. So you kind of then go into where do you get your quickest start from, where you more like reactive from it, right? But when you're starting, most times it's a leg that, like if you do that falling test where you fall, which leg are you going to put forward? That's kind of most of the time going to initially be your front foot, yeah? And then sometimes you might switch it, because like I would say my right foot, if I do a crouch start, I would do my right foot forward, but in the block I have my left foot forward. But then my first step is my right foot. But then, so initially it's generally always your more dominant leg, your stronger leg first, and you can determine it. Really, like I said, you can do that falling test. Which leg are you going to kick the ball with? Which leg do you do most things with? If you do single leg, like squats or leg press, which one feels easier? Then you can kind of figure out which leg is your stronger leg. And then, but then a lot of times you can work it out, because it depends on your pattern of movement. So sometimes if you're struggling on that first step, your second, third, then you might switch your leg around. So there's little reasons why you might switch your leg around, but that's how you usually start. Strongest leg at the front, and you can kind of figure it out from those little tests that I said. It's not set in stone though, because it just depends. If you figure out that when I put it the other way, even though it feels awkward initially, you realise I'll start quicker like that, and then you just learn to do it. That's what I did, and now that's my front foot in the blocks for like probably the last 10 years, I don't know. Okay, Natural Nubian, hey girl. In my area, the school tracks are fenced with a lock on the gate. I can't use the tracks. What surface do you recommend I train on? I get so frustrated by that there's all these nice tracks that people can't use. I just think like, what's a waste of track? What a waste of track. I'm sorry you can't use a track. But if you can't use a track and you have no access to a track, I would say your options are: 1, AstroTurf. I think AstroTurf is great based on the fact You can actually run in spikes on Astro. It's flat as well. Yes, it's softer, but it forces you to have to put a bit more like force into the ground, right? To get the same thing you would get on a harder, flatter surface. The Astro turf is good, so that's kind of sometimes easy to find if you have like sports facilities like this that's a bit more open to the public. Then you should be able to run an Astro turf. Next option is going to be grass, which I'm not a fan of, but it's beneficial. If you don't have any Achilles issues, then you're right. But it's trying to find the flattest surface that you can, marking out your path with cones or whatever, and whether that's like on the hills or with flat runs on the grass, downhill sprints. A lot of time that's going to be on grass anyway. If you're fine, your body can hack it, then grass. Then obviously in terms of pavement, it depends on what you're doing. Like sprinting on the like pavement, not so much, but if it's like if you're doing like hill sprints or early winter times, then the pavement should be okay in trainers and stuff like that. So yeah, I would say Astro would be my first choice. If you can't use a track, then I would say grass and pavement, concrete. So hopefully that helped, Natural Nubian. Okie dokie, let me see the next question. Any other questions on here, guys? Thank you for joining me. Please say hello if you're watching. Okay. Officer Piles asks, I'll ask another question if that's allowed. Of course it's allowed. At what age should I consider getting expert coaching for my daughter with sprinting? Is 9 years old too young? Okay, so I have to do like a lot of assumptions based on what do you mean by expert coaching? Do you mean just like an athletics coach at a club? Is that expert coaching? Or you mean like paying, or do you mean not just paying but paying a bit more than you would? Every setup is kind of different. I don't know where you're based either, so a lot of times like local club coaches in the UK are not tend to be paid, but then if you get more expert coaching, then it's going to be paid. And then obviously it varies from coach to coach. Is it a professional coach who also coaches athletes who have been international or whatever? I don't know. So I don't know what you mean by expert coaching. However, I would say this, in terms of finding a sprint coach who knows what they're doing, 9 years old is not too young. The earlier they can learn good technique, they can learn the mindset for training, of course it's going to be beneficial, right? So I wouldn't say it's too young. Obviously in terms of the age groups, I know the age groups are changing. I can't remember what the youngest one's going to be, but let's say you've got under 10s. Under 10s wasn't really a formal competition a lot of times. They have some like young athlete, those kind of competitions like indoors and stuff, like fun competitions, but a lot of time proper competitions, it was under 13s in the UK. I don't know what it's going to be now, I've forgotten, but I don't think it's too young. I don't think 9 years old is too young. I think 9 years old is pre-teens. It will be what we call primary school. And I think it's a good foundation time to begin to learn. In terms of if you're going to specialize now, if that's what you mean by expert coaching, I think at 9 years old, it's a bit early to specialize. Everyone loves sprinting. That's just how it is. You get some kids that love doing a long distance, but it's a good thing for them to have a chance to try as many events as they can, develop their skills across different sports, different events, and just have a try. They're very young, they don't need to specialize so young. But if it's in terms of like getting someone who knows what they're doing in the different events, then of course, like why not get a coach who knows how to teach the sprints, whether that's the shorter sprints, whether that's hurdles and all of that, whether that's a long distance coach, or whether that's a throws coach, or someone who can coach all of it. I don't think it's too early to find someone to be able to support like that if you don't know like all of that. But I don't think necessarily in terms of you're going like a specializing so young, unless like they've already chosen, like they're already like in an academy for football or tennis, they're already playing on whatever level or whatever, and then they want to develop their speed per se, and then you want to get an expert coach like that to help them develop speed. That's different. But I think if it's like just to specialize in like to be a sprinter per se, then I think they're so young. Obviously you could do sprint training, but I think it give them more options, like give them a chance to just explore all the events, have a bit more fun with it before they have to take it like so seriously. So that's my humble opinion. But yeah, I don't think it's ever too young to invest in a child. Those things stay with you. I started gymnastics when I was 8 years old, and to this day the things I learned still stuck with me. And I guess I don't know if you would call it expert coaching, but obviously I was in an elite group, elite development group or whatever. So yeah, that training, the mindset, being able to use my own body, do pull-ups, press up, all the stuff, I can still do it 20 however many plus years later, right? So yeah. Okay, KP says, I wanted to know information for my 8-year-old son, please. A lot of questions about your youngins today, like the very young ones. He's very fast at running, and I thought to try him with athletics. How do you know when athletics is a sport to give a go? I think, going back to what I just said again a minute ago, okay, I'm going to answer that question in a minute, Dami. Yeah, I wanted to know, he's very fast at running. I thought to try him with athletics. How do you know when athletics is a sport to give a go? Well, in my humble opinion, athletics is always a sport to give a go, number one. But athletics is literally foundational. There's so many events. Yeah, there's so many events. And in terms of like I said anyway, learning to run fast properly with the right mechanics, building and developing the strength and the coordination and all of that stuff, even the mindset for training from young will transfer to whatever sport. So in terms of that, athletics is always a sport to give a go because it's very foundational. Running, jumping and throwing is foundational to pretty much everything, every sport, every physical movement. So I think athletics is great. It's a foundational sport that most children should try if they can. And even if they're not able-bodied, they can still give it a try because athletics, again, is literally a sport for everybody. And then I think the same thing about gymnastics, to be honest with you. I think foundationally it's a very good, those two sports are very good foundation wise. So in terms of that, I think even if if your son wasn't fast, that you should try and give your kids a chance to try athletics, try sport. Even if they're not going to be a sports person, it develops fundamental skills, fundamental movement skills that is crazy these days that so many children who are in primary school, secondary school can't do. Adults can't jump, can't do things that you think, oh, it's just, if you're someone who started sport from young, it just comes second nature, but to the average person, they can't do it, right? So I think it's foundational wise, it's important. But then if you're seeing signs that your son is fast, it's the same way if you see signs that your kid can sing, if you see signs that your kid can draw, it's like, then why not try to, develop them in that, allow them to see if it's a path that they want to go down, like more professionally or as a career. Let them just enjoy it for now and then just see where it takes them. You don't have to make a decision whether it's going to be like a lifelong thing at 8 years old, but like I said, foundation wise it's great, socially it's great, and all the skills. I'm looking at all the kids right now doing athletics, all the little ones, and they're so disciplined and dedicated. You see their skill get better, their ability to take in instructions get better, their ability to know what their body's doing get better. So athletics is foundation wise is amazing and it can transfer to so many things. But if he's fast, then that's a good sign that athletics is a sport to give a go because he's fast already. It's not like you're going to try to make him fast. He's already fast, so why not give it a go? Okay. Dami asks, what are some signs a big PB is coming? What's a big PB, Dami? What do you class as a big PB? A big, like when someone's a kid, like young, a big PB is like a whole second. But when you get older, that is not a big PB is like 1/10. A big PB is like, yeah, 1/10, like a big PB. So what do you mean by big PB? But what are some of the signs? I would say you are seeing progress in pretty much everything you do. So whether that's in the gym, whether that's in training, the time that you're performing in training. If you're not taking data in training, I'm going to encourage you to take data in training. So if you need something to time yourself, you're self-coached, then you can check out Photo Finish app. Remind me to put a link in the description so you can get 20% off for 5 months using my code from Photo Finish, but it allows you to turn your phone into a fully automated timing system, right? So you can get electronic timing if you're not doing it already. That's a more affordable option than say Freelap. If you want to get a Freelap, then get a Freelap. Freelap's great too. But if you want a bit more of an affordable option, then Photo Finish app is a great way to still get very accurate timing but using your phone, right? If you're not taking data in training, then I would say you need to take data in training because that's going to be one of the first things that you're going to know whether a big PB is coming. If everything you do when you're older, then everything you're doing, so in the gym you're getting PBs, in your squats, in your cleans, in your snatches, in your all your lifts throughout thing, you're getting stronger. You're jumping further than you was doing your plyometrics, you're jumping further, your box jumps have improved, your bounds have improved, like all these things. Now in the runs, like your times in the short runs are better, your times in the longer runs are better, then you can go with confidence into competition knowing that big piece coming. Also, in terms of, let's say you started the season and you're like running the same time consistently over a few races, then you know that a big PB is coming where you just need like everything to come together. So let's say you're running very consistent times and you're like, oh, I keep messing up the start, So you know, I just fixed the start, this is gonna mean a PB. Or you keep running a consistent time and you've been very consistent with times, then you know that when it's the day, like lovely, beautiful day, the wind's in the right direction, it's a fast race, like you've got other people that it's very competitive, so you're gonna help you to run fast, you know a PB's coming. So yeah, by consistent, I also mean like consistently around a time that's very close to your PB, right? Then you'll know a PB's coming. So hopefully that answers your question, does it? But yeah, those, for me, those are signs. But like, that's why data and training is so important, because then you can be confident. Don't, trust me, when these elite athletes line up on the line, they're not thinking about, who was I saying this to the other day? They're not thinking about anybody else. They know what they did to get here. They know all the times and all the numbers that they've been seeing in training. So they know, that's why they can be so confident on that line, knowing what they're going to do right now, because you've done it consistently in training. You've executed consistently in training, right? So you can go into your race confidently. But yeah, in terms of when you're an adult, you know BB's coming because of all the above in training, like I said. And then in terms of the racing, you've been very consistent, or you run in certain times with these mistakes, the same mistake. So it's very clear that if I fix that mistake this time, like, and it's not like a fitness thing, it's a technical thing, or like a model, an execution thing. If I fix that, then I'm gonna get the time. Like, then you know I'm gonna get the time. So that's how those are some of the ways that you would know that a big PB's coming, like that. Okay. Eric Slim says, I hope this has been helpful, guys. Please give it a big thumbs up if it is. Please say hi. You guys have been quiet today, very quiet today. Okay, please share your tips on how I can learn to suffer more. This is a funny question. And to push myself when I want to give up, e.g. when in an anaerobic zone or when I'm trailing too far behind. Thanks. Right. How can you learn to suffer more? It's a really good question, but it's funny because that's literally what you do to yourself when you train. It's like you're suffering. You suffer more. Like, okay, you do suffer, but it is that mindset. It's very hard. This is what I'll say first off the bat. Some people, it's like an innate thing. Sometimes an innate thing, like being able to push yourself, it's not easy. The average person cannot do it, which is why you get yourself a coach, which is why you get yourself a personal trainer if you need one. And you have to be realistic and know yourself. If you're like, I struggle to push myself more, I need to get a coach, I need to get a personal trainer, I need to get, even if it's not a coach per se, but someone, a training partner, or somebody to be there with me when I do X specific session. Because in those sessions, I struggle to push myself. There might be some sessions where you can push yourself, but there might be others where you struggle. So it's setting up. So if it's like having somebody else there, someone to time you, having a timing system, like I mentioned already, that can be an external motivator to help you push more, because you're trying to get a specific time for specific runs, right? But then also, if you, like I said, if you need to know yourself, you need to get someone, a person to be there, a coach to be there, whatever, then that as well. Second of all, right, let me think about this. How can you learn to suffer more? Think about what the reason why you do it. A lot of times, suffering without a purpose is very difficult. So having a purpose, a goal as to why you need to suffer, why it's necessary to do X to get Y. Okay, so if you haven't got any goals, really setting out your goals so you understand, okay, why you're doing something. Because when you have a really big motivator, it helps you to push a bit more. Because if you know, okay, like Dami asked about the PB question, yeah, and if you're like, okay, I need to fix this middle part, which means that in my whatever run I need to do this. When you're in that run and you think about sprinting a life advice all in one video, love it. Thanks. When you're in that run now and you want to give up, you remember, oh no, I need to, if I want to run that PB that I want to run, I need to do this is what I need to do. So thinking about, if you haven't got goals, get some goals, set yourself some goals. If you need someone external, you need or an external motivator like a timing system, then get that, or get a trainer, or get a training partner, something like that, right? And I'm training behind too far. But also, what I'll say is sometimes also break your run up. So for example, let's say for me, I know mentally, if a run is over 150 meters, mentally, I cannot attack it the same way I would attack 150 or a 120, so to speak, right? So I know mentally that's just gonna that's not gonna happen. So therefore, another way to get this, how can you get the same results? So let's say, for example, it's a 250 or a 300. Rather than run that, say, oh, it's a 300 at 90% or 95%, am I gonna do it? Then split it. Do the 150, add a 150 with a break in the middle. I'm going to run it faster than I would that 300 anyway, and it's still going to get the same benefit, but you split it. So sometimes split your run into a bit more where mentally you can attack it. And then once you've overcome that mental barrier, then you can increase that length, if that makes sense. That's the same way that you train anyway in terms of physically. You wouldn't give yourself, if someone's never bench pressed, you don't suddenly just give them 60 kg. You might start at the bar, then a 20, then a thing. So you build it up. So mentally you can build up that barrier too, where it's like, okay, there's a blockage for me for a certain distance. So I'm going to split it up so that it doesn't seem, even if it's the same distance you're running, you split it with a 30 seconds in between, but that enables you to execute better and push past the barrier. So hopefully that helps. I hope it helps. Someone just asked this question. Do you do weight training? Which muscle groups do you train? I sure do weight training, Reb 32. I do weight training. Which muscles do you train? Is that me personally? My whole body, my whole body. But yeah, as a sprinter, your quads, your hamstrings, your glutes, your back, your core, your upper body, because you need to use your arms, so that shoulders, arms, everything. So the whole body. But in terms of quick like structure, I personally now split my gym sessions. Both my gym sessions, I have 2 gym sessions at this point in life, where working full time, running a business, training in between clients, all of that. I have 2 gym sessions a week, kind of, because sometimes it's like 1.5. But one is bilateral and one is unilateral. Both are full body. Both sessions I always begin, I say begin, but let's say after I've done warm up, isometric, all this stuff. Explosive lifts. So those explosive lifts may be a combination. I alternate and rotate things in my sessions so I can get as much as I can over weeks, right? But let's say explosive lifts, Olympic lifts might be cleans, it might be snatches, it might be split jerks, paired with some plyometric jumps, like a box jump, single leg box jump, depending on which day it is. Then I've got, you got compound lifts. So compound lifts might be like squats, it might be like Bulgarian split squats if it's a single leg day, right? It might be, as you get into the season, it might be rack squats, like it is now, rack squats, right? When you're just doing the upward push part, so it's more explosive. In the winter, you want to build a bit more muscle, you want to build a bit more strength. In the summer, you need to stay fast and explosive. It's all about power, right? So everything needs to be quick. The slow stuff is not, that's not what we're trying to achieve, so it doesn't need to be slow. Hamstrings are so important for sprinting. So hamstring work, RDLs are amazing. Split RDLs, single leg RDLs are amazing. Eccentric leg curls are amazing. All those things are amazing, right? So yeah, that, and then like calf work, got specific things I need to do if I've got Achilles issues, you know. So those are the kind of things you might do. Upper body, bench, supine rows, pull-ups, dips. Those for me, because I don't have so much time, those compound upper body exercises give me what I want. Arm swings, give me what I want. So core work every day. So there we go. That's what I do. I do gym work, but that's like a snippet of some of the things that I do. Hope that helps. Who asked that question again? Reb. Does that help? Gotham S, does skipping improve speed in running? Skipping is great because running, if you say running, we're talking about our speed in running, so we're talking about sprinting, yeah? Skipping is great because it's, ooh, got a fly in my eye. Skipping is great because it is like it begins to, it's plyometric, right? But it's elementary. You skipped when you was a kid. Most people can skip. Most people can't sprint, right? So skipping is good because it teaches you to be able to like react off of the floor, and you can do like different kinds of like different times, I don't say different kind of movement, but different kinds of execution of a skip. You can go like skipping, quick skips, you can do longer skips, you can do skips for height, you can do skips for distance. So it helps improve your speed and sprinting in the sense that it teaches you how to have good ground contact, better ground contact, be aware of what your body's doing, coordinating the arms and legs together. Yeah, and it teaches you to be able to, you might be able to say like, okay, now get the knee up and all that kind of stuff. So it improves the speed for sprinting in a sense that it's plyometric, the same way that we use plyometrics anyway, because it helps us. Sprinting is basically a series of bounds. If you look at a sprinter at one point in motion, sometimes their feet are not in the ground. So you're on the ground for a very short amount of time in sprinting, but you need to produce a lot of power. So plyometric, you have to produce a lot of power, but the issue is that a lot of people don't execute plyometrics very well. So they spend a lot of time on the ground, or their form is not very good. So skipping is good because it's a way to begin to teach you to execute a little bit better, and it's a bit more elementary and it's not so taxing on the joints. So hope that helps. Does that help? Gotham, does that help? All right, I've literally been talking for 15 minutes about taking water. I'm going to take a sip of water. Okay, guys. So, is there any more questions? Does that help? I'm glad that helped. Reb, you're welcome. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you for all the questions, guys. There's so many questions. Is there any more questions? And I really hope I've answered them well. If you haven't given this video a like, please give it a like. Share it with your friend if you think that it will help them. If you know anyone that's interested in sprinting, then send them this way. Let me know, where are you in your sprinting journey? Are you using sprinting to keep fit? Are you a competitive athlete? Are you looking to compete? Have you competed? Have you started your season? Where are you at? How's your season going? Where are you in your, how is training going? Let me know those things in the chat. So I haven't opened up my season, obviously, based on what I shared earlier about my Achilles, but I'm grateful that I'm now back running, and it's just keeping myself in one piece and prayerfully being able to execute in competition the things that I've been seeing in training over this winter and now spring and now summer. It's not really summer. Training for fitness with Tarima, great coach. Thank you, NDWay. Yes, Dee's doing great. We're trying to make her into a 400-meter runner out here. We're getting there slowly but surely. But no, she's doing amazing. So yeah, sprinting for fitness is like one of the best forms of training, honestly. And I think the more that I do this, the older I get, and the more, you know, with my clients and everything like that, I just see that benefit. And I think a lot of people are discovering the benefit of sprinting. And obviously with sprinting, because you need to develop so many things, like you do have to do that gym work, that conditioning work, to be able to enable you to do the stuff on the track as well. But it's so beneficial. And I think, like, yeah, just looking at the kids, I'm looking at the kids over here, the group, and I remember for myself, you do develop a community. And yeah, there is that whole social aspect of it as well, and it is just really great, keeping you young, vibrant, keeping your body active and alert, and being really aware of your body on a day-to-day, making everyday life tasks much easier, you know, much easier. Keeping you youthful, guys, keeps you youthful. Being able to jump, the fact that people can't jump once they get past a certain age, it's like, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. So yeah, if you can start to implement sprinting, starting with skipping or whatever, any of the things we've spoken about today, is a good place to start. But yes, is there any more questions? Just gonna remind you guys. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. I didn't say it, but basically, I have a ebook series called the Mastering the Sport series, and there's 2 books out at the moment, which the Sprinters Pre-Meet Handbook, which is free, and the Navigating Your First Race, a guide for new sprinters. I'm currently working on a 3rd one, which is going to be a beginner's guide to sprint starts. If you want to be one of the first people to know when I finish that and to get your hands on it, then make sure that you're subscribed to my email list. I think I've left the link in the description box. And also, what I'm going to do is, if you are a patron of mine, then I'm going to actually give that to you guys for free. So if you're not subscribed, then subscribe so you can find out first, so you can get your hands on that guide, so you can know all the starts, how to execute them, and all that good stuff. And then yeah, if you're a patron, then you'll get that for free. Will not have to pay for it. So yes, if you haven't done that, guys, make sure you do it. But it's been great talking with you guys. If there's no more questions, then I'm going to head off. I'll wait a few more seconds. All right, guys, so thank you for joining me. Thank you for all the questions. If you're watching the replay and you still have questions, then feel free to leave them in the comments and I will answer them in the next live. I've been trying to do these lives once a month and so far I'm doing well. Obviously, I did 2 this month to make up for last month, but that's what we'll do if I can't do it in a specific month. But that's the aim, to have at least 12 of these lives to share. So yeah, thank you guys. I hope it's been helpful and I look forward to seeing you in another live or another video. All right then, happy sprinting.